Hello everyone, I'm back again with story time. If you didn't watch the first video, I highly recommend that you should go do that because you will be completely lost during the entirety of this video. So go ahead and go click on that video and not be on this one. After you're done watching that, then come back here. And then, watch this. Okay, so bear with me here. I'm recalling a lot of this from memory. I haven't had the chance to really speak to Blewett in regards to some of these events. I only remember vaguely kind of what happened, so just, bear with me here. So, shortly after Blewett was fired from the grocery store, he started to work security up in his home state, right? And so there'd be a lot of nights where I was also working nights, and he would end up calling me, and we'd talk for a little while. And so one of the sites in particular that he was doing security at was, from what I remember, I'm pretty sure it was a church. It's been a few years since he told me about this. And so during this time, he still roided up to the gills with roids. And for whatever reason, he became very, very upset inside the church. I'm not sure why. Maybe it was weed-induced paranoia. And they had cameras inside of this church as well. He was basically to be there overnight, watching over the church. And so he got upset for whatever reason, or had a sudden case of roid rage, and decided to liberate a local table of its spine and destroyed the table completely, smashing it in half. And after he had his fit of anger, he then panicked and realized what he had done and the fact that he had destroyed the client's property and that it had all been recorded as well. So when morning came around, the pastor arrived at the church to basically kind of like relieve him, be like, oh, hey, I'm here to take over, you go home now. So when the pastor relieved him, the pastor saw the table, looked at him, and Blewett immediately panicked, and he's like, I sat on it, and he kind of just like ran out the building to his car and just like took off. I think he got chewed out by his bosses for it, but that is the desk incident. You see, Blewett was put into a self-defense situation, and that's the one place you should never put a man, in a self-defense situation. If he has to break the table in half through a crowd of people into your window in order to defend himself, then it was all worth it in the end, because he defended his life against that table. I briefly spoke about his condition up in his home state when I was speaking to him when he was there, about how he essentially was living with his father and smoking weed inside of an apartment and doing lots of other questionable activities. And so I wanted to help get the guy's life straight, right? So I invited him down here to where I live, which is like down south. I invited him down here to come move in, and I could try to help teach him how to make better life decisions and to kind of guide him and set him on a good path, right? And so he eventually agrees to it. He decides, all right, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna go move in with you, and you're gonna help get me a better job that's higher paying and get me on a better track. And I'm like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Let's get you on that track. So day of the move comes. He gets pretty much all of his life's belongings into one sedan and a bunch of like gym bags and like dirty clothes bags or whatever. So he puts it all inside his sedan, and he basically makes the 24-hour trek down to where I live. It was like, I want to say he drove for the straight like 24 hours, right? So about 3/4 into his ride down here, he calls me and he's like, hey man, if I run the AC in the car, will the engine explode? And I was very dumbfounded by this question. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I thought like you can only run, you know, the AC for like a few minutes or else the engine's going to overheat. And I'm like, no, dude, that's not how the vehicle works at all. Like, you have a radiator in the vehicle to help keep the engine, you know, at an optimal temperature. There's lots of safeguards in place. Like, they design vehicles from the factory with the ability to use AC. So, no, your engine's not going to explode. And mind you, this was in the middle of the summer. This was, I want to say, probably like July. I want to say it was like July. Somewhere's around there, right? It was really hot out, especially where I live. And so he had driven for almost, 20-something hours, like 3/4 the journey, he drove without using any AC at all. And I'm not too sure this guy understood entirely, like, what deodorant is or when he should apply it, I guess. I mean, I'm sure he knows what deodorant is, but as far as, like, actually applying it generously, I don't think he quite understood that. But when he pulled up in front of my house, he absolutely reeked. Like, my nose doesn't really work too well, right? I don't know what happened to it. Maybe I got hit in the face a few too many times. It just doesn't really work too well, right? It takes me a little while to pick up on scents and stuff, but this guy right here, he got out of the vehicle and he stank to freaking high hell. Like, this dude absolutely reeked. Like, imagine in Metal Gear Solid 3, you put on the stinky camo with the flies buzzing around it. Well, imagine that, but like, but like IRL. That's him. He had, inside of his sedan, there was like these weird, like, kind of like mystery looking stains inside the sedan. I don't know what they were, but it looked like almost like something, he had like food in there and it like spoiled. And I'm pretty sure, I want to say it was either at this point or sometime in the future that I vividly remember him having giant gallons of piss jugs inside the vehicle. So the inside of his car is just an absolute wreck. And I'm like, okay, dude, the first thing I want you to do when you get inside is go take a freaking shower, bro. Go shower, like right now. You smell like shit. Okay, please go shower. And then I told him, like, run all your laundry through the washer because it all needs to get washed. It all reeks. And so he eventually goes and he settles into the house, right? So I was able to help him eventually get a security job. You know, first starting out doing like unarmed work and then eventually moving up to armed work. You know, when you go from unarmed to armed, the pay's a little bit better. So he lived with me for like, I think like 4 or 5 months or so. And I think he was discontented with how much he was paying in rent. I was only charging him like $5.50 a month in rent for renting like one room. And there's like a washer and dryer and like garage, gym and stuff. And so I think he grew discontent with that. And then the other roommates that were here. And so one day he kind of just abruptly like ups and leaves the house and just kind of literally doesn't even give me like a 2-week notice or anything, 30-day notice. He just picked up all of his stuff and then moved right over to my other friend's house, like a couple minutes away from me. So he starts living with that friend, right? And this is the same friend that was with him over in Asia who had to constantly reel him back in because he was about to say the most retarded shit imaginable to get literally everybody UCMJ'd and thrown out of the military, right? This is the same dude that had to reel him in. So he starts living with him. My friend and Blewett start going to the gym together, right? They start going to Planet Fitness, right? They start going there together. And so at this point, Blewett has his armed license. He's doing armed security now, right? And so he and my friend finish a workout and they go up to the front counter. And there's a girl, some 18, 19-year-old girl, just regular Joe Schmo lady, just, you know, doing her desk job lady stuff, you know? And so he goes up to her and he locks eye contact with her. He had like that Giga, it's like the Giga autistic stare, almost like the, it's like the Oblivion or like Fallout stare, right? Where like his eyes go like wide open, and he just like kind of dead stares at you. And so he went up to this girl. He does that look. He does the deadpan, you know, stare at her, and I guess he was trying to flirt with her. And during that flirting, the words of "I kill people for a living" came out of his mouth, and the woman or the girl was obviously, you know, taken aback by that. She's like, wow, there's something not right with this guy. And so my friend immediately has to step in and apologize to the girl, telling the girl that he has autism and sometimes he says really stupid shit, which honestly, that's not a lie. And so afterwards they leave the gym, but that's the kind of stuff he would do that would scare the hoes. Women are afraid of this man. He's a hulking mass of freaking schmeat, right? This dude's just a brick freaking shithouse, and women are frightened by this guy just from like his awkward demeanor and just like how freaking buff the guy is, and some of the just completely deranged things he'll go on and say at times. He's also a self-proclaimed incel, but he's able to get laid, right? But he keeps labeling himself as an incel, which wouldn't really make him an incel. He'd be a fake cell, which is a dude who claims to be an incel but can actually get laid, but he's not getting the women that he wants. He seems to have a very big proclivity towards larger women, and when I say large, I mean large women. He like that large woman. Get what I'm saying? So yeah, he can't stop the chubby chase. He's always on that. Yeah, he just has this really like negative, pessimistic view on himself. Very, very low self-esteem. I feel very bad for the guy, and I have no idea how to try to help him on that. Like, I've tried to coach him on like talking to women, and kind of like gave him the idea of like, hey, you know, you should probably work on yourself before you try talking to any more women, right? Which segues us into our next arc for Blewett, which is the being banned from 109 dating apps arc of the story. And so, for whatever reason, whenever Blewett goes on to a dating app, right, the area we're in has a good amount of transgender people, right? And so he will always, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I can't explain it, but you can make whatever assumptions you really want here, right? He will always swipe right on the transgender, on the transgenders. He will always swipe right for whatever reason. He'll swipe right on them, and then he'll hate text them. He will literally just write them like the nastiest stuff like imaginable on a dating app. And like, obviously he gets reported, right? And so he does this on every single dating app he goes on. He just literally cannot help himself but to spurg out and to start, you know, calling them all sorts of slurs, to which kind of begs the question of, you know, if you don't like them that much, why don't you just swipe left? Why are you swiping right at all? Why can't you should probably just, you know, let bygones be bygones. You're not, I don't think you're really going to change your mind by, you know, insulting them, call me a liberal, but you can just swipe left and not have any interaction and not get banned from the dating app. Crazy idea, right? So I think he's been banned from about, I want to say every single dating app. I think the only one he hasn't been banned from was Grindr. Or maybe he has. I'm not sure. I have one of the screenshots actually of what he sent to a girl on Bumble, and I've never seen something. I've never seen a screenshot of like a text from my friend and been like, dude, I'm having like fifth hand like embarrassment from like the amount of cringe in this freaking text. Like, you can read it for yourself on screen, but it's bad. Like, I don't know what the hell was going on in this guy's mind. He just thinks, like, talking to people like this is completely okay, which it's not. you don't, unless you're like Henry Cavill or some super crazy good looking dude, like maybe you could pull that off. But no, you can't message a woman like that. That's not gonna happen. So going into the next Blewett incident, we have the ATM incident, right? And so one of his jobs was ATM security. You go around, you'd follow a white van, and they'd go fix ATMs, and you would stand guard and make sure nobody robs the guy, the tech, working on the ATM, right? And so he was working at one of the ATMs, covering down there, making sure that, tech wasn't getting robbed or anything. And 3 or 4 black ladies drove by in some type of sedan or whatever, and I guess they thought he was a cop, and they flipped him off or something else, and he decided, in his infinite wisdom, instead of just ignoring them and putting on a stoic face and acting like he didn't hear anything or was unfazed by it, he decided to blow a kiss at the car as it drove by. And so the black ladies went inside the bank and promptly reported him. And so eventually this got back to his security company, to which the leadership there, they asked him, they're like, hey, did you blow a kiss at this car full of black ladies? And he's like, yeah, I did, because they flipped me off, so I thought it'd be cute to blow them a kiss. And so management asked him, they're like, hey, can you give us a written statement of what you just said? And he's like, sure. So he writes it down, submits it to him, and then like a day later they get back to him and they're like, yeah, dude, you're terminated, bro. You're not working here anymore. And so he was promptly fired from that job as well. He has a long-running history of being relieved of duty from his jobs. And for whatever reason, it's never his fault. Never his fault when he gets fired from a job. Which kind of makes you question, like, hey, if you're fired from so many different places, the common denominator here is you, not the places. So yeah, he got terminated for that. Alright, so we've come to my favorite arc. One of my favorite arcs in the Blewett saga. This is the illegal chick arc, right? So this is when he was still working that security job doing the ATM security, right? So he was still living with my friend, the one he moved out from my house and moved over to his. He was still living over there, right? And so he met this woman off a dating app, and it was like some Mexican chick, right? And she was here. She was illegal. She was super illegal, and this is like right after Trump got in office and started dropping the hammer on illegals and whatnot, right? Deporting people. And so he's seeing this chick, and for whatever reason, he decides, okay, I'm gonna go move in with this chick in her freaking tiny house. And she literally doesn't even speak English. She has to use a translation app every single time that she talks to him. It's a complete shit show, right? Just total freaking disaster, right? And so while he's staying there, she gives him ringworm, right? She gives him ringworm, and I guess maybe that was enough to spook him to move out or whatever, but apparently it wasn't enough to stop him from talking to her altogether, right? So he would call me. He'd call me and be like, hey bro, is ICE gonna come deport me? Are they gonna come arrest me if I'm living with the illegal chick? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you're living with her and she's illegal, sounds like you're harboring an illegal to me, I'd arrest you for it. So I think eventually his paranoia got to him, to which my one friend, I'm sure, did everything he could to feed into his insatiable paranoia. He's always paranoid about everything. I think the years of him doing weed really, really caught up with him. Or maybe he's just schizophrenic. But he eventually moves out of the illegal chick's house. He moves out and finds some weird compound kind of place where it's a few different houses that are all being rented out all on the same property or whatever, and he has a bunch of different roommates, and the room he stays in has freaking scorpions on on the floor. It's not good living conditions. It's about $400 worth of rent a month, and that's about as much as he's willing to pay for rent. Rather than have like okay decent living conditions for like a few extra $100, living with me. He's like, no, I'm gonna go live in the crack shack for $400 a month, and it's like you get to live with the scorpions, I guess. But so eventually later on, he starts talking to the illegal chick again and starts doing sexual stuff with her, right? So he starts doing sexual stuff with her, and he hits up my buddy. He calls up my buddy. He's like, hey, my dick burns. Like my dick burns or something, right? He's listing off like a bunch of symptoms of, what's probably an STD, right? My friend's like, yeah, you should probably go get that looked at. So he eventually goes to the doctor and gets it looked at, and he tests positive for gonorrhea and chlamydia. He got it all from that one chick, at least from what I know, or what my friend told me. But he couldn't leave the illegal chick alone. I think he might have learned his lesson, and I think he might have finally left the illegal alone after getting numerous STDs and other diseases from the third worlder lady. So hopefully he's not messing with her again. So all great journeys come to an end, and this is my last Blewett story for the video. And so Blewett has a bank account, right? And he, for whatever reason, was having some type of issues with his debit card, right? I think he went like a month without using his debit card or whatever. There's some type of issue with it as to where he needed to use his like credit card to get by or whatever, right? So he was apparently very, very upset about it, which is, understandable that he'd be upset over the inconvenience of it, right? So he decides to he calls up his bank, and the customer service lady, she picks up the phone and starts talking to him. And the customer service lady, she is black. And for whatever reason, that set him off. Blewett is a white guy, by the way. I don't know if you could, if you picked it up from like how I kind of talked about him. But yeah, he's white. And so the customer service lady starts talking to him, and he immediately goes for the throat and immediately drops some gamer language. He immediately hits her with the hard R and like calls her like a bunch of other freaking like epithets, right? He hits her with every freaking slur in the book, just for no reason, right? It's like the customer service lady literally is just minding her own business, trying to help you like get your problem fixed, right? And you're just gonna be super rude to her and just immediately start calling her slurs. And so he doesn't stop there, right? He hits everything. He says bitch. He says rhymes with Twinkie. Or, maybe not rhyme, but take Twinkie, and then you take like the IE out. And then he dropped like the hard F slur. Like he said everything. They let this man cook. They let him cook for over an hour on the phone, transferring him from different person to different person. I guess they wanted to gather enough evidence on the guy to like get him permanently banned from ever banking with them ever again. But they let him go on for an hour, just calling every single slur in the freaking book, dude. And so like the hour went by, I think he hung up or something. And so a couple days later, he gets a letter in the mail from his bank. And it says, hey, because of the way you talk to our customer service representatives, your bank account is now effectively terminated. I'm not sure if he's able to get the money back or not. He had a good bit of money in there that he'd saved up. But I don't know what possessed him to just randomly go off and have a manic episode over the phone. He legit had like a full-on Burger King crown guy moment with his freaking bank, with his bank of all things. And so that's it. Like that's all the stories I really have about Blewett, at least at the moment. There might be more videos depending on what other news I'm fed from my friend. or from him directly. But in all seriousness, someone like him, I feel bad more than anything for. I I wish the guy the best, and I hope that he eventually someday figures it out and figures out how to get his life together. But will that day ever come? God only knows. But that's going to be the end of this video. If you liked the video, leave a comment, drop a like, or, don't. I know I keep saying I'm going to finish the Spec Ops Aligned video, which I will. Matter of fact, this weekend, I'm going to be dedicating an entire day to just getting that done, because I don't want to put it off anymore. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and that I will see you on the next one. Until next time, friends.